Hello everyone, welcome to our math lesson on using the standard algorithm for division with a one-digit divisor. So our objective is that we will solve division problems with one-digit divisors using the standard algorithm. All right, so we've already talked about different strategies we can use when we are dividing with one-digit divisors or two-digit divisors. Now we're going to take those strategies we've used, turn them into the standard algorithm, and see a faster way to solve the same type of problem, just in a more condensed form. All right, so let's start out with, let's do 428 divided by, let's do 2. Okay, I'm going to start nice and simple. 428 divided by 2. All right. So as we all know, this right here, this is our dividend. This is what is being divided. This is our divisor. It is only one digit. We're starting with one-digit divisors here. Okay, and then our answer that we get, which will be up here, is going to be our quotient. All right, so when we are using the standard algorithm, we're going to first be looking at our divisor, and we're going to look at how it fits into each piece individually. Okay, so we're going to start with this 2 going into the number that is closest to it, which is the 4. Now that's not just a 4, that's actually a 400 if we look at the whole number, right? But when we are using the standard algorithm, okay, what the formula we are using is going to fill out the different place values as we go. So we just have to look at the 2 and the 4. We don't need to think about the fact that this is a 400, even though it is, and our answer will show that, okay? But we just need to look at 2 going into 4. That's all we need to focus on right now. So how many times would 2 go into 4? Well, that's pretty easy. We would know that. That would be 2. So since I'm dealing with this 4 right here, I'm going to put my answer to how many times 2 goes into 4 right above that 4. Right there, 2. Okay, so I know 2 times 2 equals 4. Okay, now what I'm actually doing here is I'm saying 2 times 200. You see how this is going to be in the hundreds place because I have 2 more spaces here. 2 times 200 is going to equal 400. But for now, all I'm worrying about is the 2 and the 2 going into 4, because as I continue doing the rest of this problem, I will fill out my tens and my ones place later, and then my number will be complete. So now that I have 2 times 2 and I know it equals 4, I'm going to write what it equals 2 times 2, 4 right here, right below it, and I'm going to subtract those. Okay. Now, I don't have anything left over because 2 goes into 4 evenly, right? But it's not always going to. So in this case, I have 0, which is great, but I'm not always going to have that. So now that I have 0 here, I can bring down my next digit, my tens place, bring it down here, and now I can do my next one. Okay, so now this is the number I am trying to go into. I have a 0 in front, so I don't need to worry about that. All I'm looking at is a 2. How many times would 2 go into 2? Okay, and you'll notice now we're dealing with the tens place here, right? But we're just looking at the 2 going into the 2. Well, I know 2 times 1 is 2. So again, I'm going to put that 1 right above the column that I'm working with right now. 2 times 1 equals 2. All right, so now I can do 2 times 1. Well, I know that equals 2. And again, that goes in evenly. So when I subtract it, I'm going to have 0. All right, so again, I have nothing left over. Now I'm going to bring my last place value down, which is my ones place, and that's an 8. Okay, and now I can do how many times would 2 go into 8? Okay, and I'm dealing with my ones place finally. So how many times would 2 go into 8? Well, we know that's 4. I'm going to put my 4 right there. 2 times 4, we know, well, that equals 8. And if you subtract those, again, you have 0. So I have 214 with nothing left over. I have no remainder here. So I just have an even 214 for my answer. Okay, that's my quotient. Right there, that is my answer to this division problem. Okay, so that's just a very basic introduction to how we would do our standard algorithm with division. Excuse me. Let's try one that's going to be a little more complicated that is going to not go in as smoothly. Okay, let's just do it right over here. All right, let's try 746. And I'm going to divide that by Let's do 3. 746 divided by 3. All right. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm looking at the 3 going into the 7. I'm starting with what's closest to my divisor, right? So how many times can 3 go into 7? Well, this one's a little different. It cannot go in evenly like I could over here. 3 does not go into 7 evenly. But how many times can I get it into 7 as close as I can to getting to 7 without going over? I can't go over. Okay, so how many times could I get 3 into 7? Well, I know 3 times 2 is 6. That's pretty close. It's only one away, and it's not going over. So I'm going to do 3 times 2. Okay, and now I can subtract. 3 times 2 I know is 6. Okay, now this time I'm going to have something left over. I'm going to subtract these two, and 7 minus 6 we know is 1. Okay, now watch what I'm going to do with that 1. I'm moving over to my tens place now, so I'm going to drop down the tens place. Okay, now when I'm dividing 3 now, I'm not just looking at 4. I'm not dividing 3 into 4. I'm dividing 3 into 14 because I had 1 left over from my hundreds place. So how many times could 3 go into 14? 3 into 14. Well, I know 3 times 3 is 9. It's a little too far. 3 times 4 would be 12. That's the closest I can get without going over 14. So 3 times 4, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a 4 over my tens place. 3 times 4, that's going to be 12. Right, and now I'm going to subtract those two. 14 minus 12. Well, that's going to be 2. I have 2 left over. Okay. Now I can move on to my ones place. I'm going to drop down that 6. Okay, now I am looking at 3 going into 26. How many times would 3 go into 26? Well, let's see. 3 times 5, that's 15. 3 times 10, that's 30. That's a little too much. So we need to go back. Well, 3 times 9, 27. Oh, but that's too much. I can't go over the number I have here. Okay. So I'm going to have to go down one more. We'll do 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay. So I'll put an 8 over my ones place. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay. Now I can subtract it. And I have 2. Okay, but now what do I do here? I have no more numbers to drop down. I can't divide 3 into 2 because it's too small. So what do I do with this? Well, just like we were talking about with some of our other strategies, anything that's left over that the divisor cannot go into, this is going to be your remainder. Okay, so our answer is going to be 248, remainder 2. Okay, so that number that was left over at the end, that's going to be our remainder. All right. All right, we're going to continue on with another problem. Okay, and let's see a different type of problem here. Okay, let's do 291. Ooh, yikes. Divided by, let's do 7. 291 divided by 7. All right, so here's my divisor. I'm going to start with 7 into 2. Okay, but I already see a problem here. If I'm trying to put 7 into 2, it's not going to work because 7 is bigger than 2. I can't divide 2 divided by 7. Well, not evenly, not with a whole number. 7 is not going to go into 2, right? So what I'm going to have to do is look at 7 into the next full number that it can go into, which is 29. So I'm now looking at these 2 digits together because 7 cannot go into 2. 2 is too small. It's smaller than 7. So I have to look at the next whole number that 7 can go into, which is 29. All right, so now that I'm looking at both of these, I'm dividing 7 into 29, not just 200. So when I put my answer to whatever this problem is, it's going to be over the tens column, not the hundreds, because 7 cannot go into 200, right? Or, you know what I mean. 7 cannot go into 2. That's what I meant. So 7 into 29. How many times can that happen? Okay, well, I know 7 times 3, that's 21. 7 times 4 is 28. There we go. 28 is pretty close. So 7 times 4. I'm not going to put it right here because I'm not dividing just into the 2. I'm dividing into both of these. So 7 times 4, I'm going to put that 4 above the 9, okay, because I'm dividing into both of these. There is no hundreds place for this one in my quotient because it wouldn't go in, okay? So 7 times 4, I'm going to put the 28 right below the 29 that I was just dividing into, and then subtract them. 7 or 29 minus 28, that's 1. Okay, pretty good. 7 cannot go into 1. I need to bring down my ones place. Okay, 7 can go into 11, but only one time. If I do 7 times 2, it'll be 14. It'll be too much. So my ones place is just going to be 7 times 1. That equals 7. And I'm going to subtract it. Right? 11 minus 7. Well, 3 more would be 10 from 7. So 1 more. 11 minus 7 is 4. Now, I have no more places to pull down here. 7 cannot go into 4. It is too small. So this number right here is going to be my remainder. So I have 41, remainder 4 for this problem. Okay. Remember, we did not put any number above our hundreds place because it was too small. We had to look at both the hundreds and the tens place together in order to do our first division part of this problem. All right. All right, everyone. I'm going to do 2 more quick practice problems with our dividing with 1-digit divisors. If you're already feeling confident about this, you do not need to keep watching the rest of this video. But I am going to do 2 more practice ones. So if you are still feeling like you need a few more examples, then please keep watching. All right, so let's turn over to our next page. All right, let's do 942 divided by 6. Let's do that. 942 divided by 6. All right, so 6 going into 9. 6 cannot go into 9 more than one time. It's just going to be 6 times 1, right? Because 6 times 2 is 12. That's too big. So I'm going to do 6 times 1 first. 6 times 1 is 6. I'm going to put that right below my 9. And then I'm going to subtract those 2. 9 minus 6, that is 3. Okay, 6 cannot go into 3. I have to bring down my tens place. Okay, now I have 34. How many times can 6 go into 34? Let's see, 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. There we go. 6 times 5, 30. That's close. So since I'm doing the 34, I'm working with the tens place right now. 6 times 5, I'm going to put my 5 right here. 6 times 5 is 30. Put that right below what I was just dividing into. And then subtract the difference. So 34 minus 30, that's going to be 4. Okay, 6 cannot go into 4. And then I'm going to bring down my 2 from my ones place. All right, now I'm looking at 6 going into 42. Well, I know that's a math fact, right? So I know 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. All right, so 6 times 7, that's actually going to go in evenly. 42. And then we are going to subtract those 2. And I have nothing left over. So I have no remainder for this one. And my final quotient or answer is going to be 157. All right. Okay, let's do one more practice problem. Let's do a bigger one this time. I'm going to go into the thousands. I'm going to do 3,417 divided by, let's do 8. I don't think we've done 8 yet. Okay, divided by 8. So now I'm going into a lot of digits here, but again, I'm just going to go place value by place value. So I don't have to worry about the 3,000 part. I'm just going to look at the 3. Keep it nice and simple. How many times can 8 go into 3? Well, first of all, it can't. I can't put 8 into 3. It's not going to work. So I'm going to have to look at these 2 digits together, my thousands place and my hundreds place together. Because since 8 won't go into 3, I have to look at 8 going into 34. So how many times can 8 go into 34? Well, 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. Still seems a little too low. 8 times 4. Oh, that's 32. Okay, that's close. 8 times 4. So you notice I put the 4 above the hundreds place because I could not fit anything into the thousands. 8 cannot go into 3. So I have to move over to the next place value and do 8 times 4 into this place value right here. Not the thousands because it couldn't fit. So now I'm doing 8 times 4. That's 32. I'm going to put it right below the 34 that I was just dividing into. So 34 minus 32. That's going to be 2 left over. 8 cannot go into 2. But when I drop down the 1 from my tens place, now I can put 8 into that. So 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. That's going to be too big. All right, so I'm going to have to deal with 8 times 2. 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to put my 2 here. 8 times 2, 16 goes right here, and I'm going to subtract those two. 21 minus 16, that is going to be 5. And then I'm going to drop down my 7. All right, now I'm looking at 8 going into 57. 8 going into 57. What is that going to be? Well, I know 7 times 8 is going to be close, right? 7 times 8 is 56. That's almost there. Going to have 1 left over, but it's okay. 8 times 7, that's 56. If I subtract those two, I get 1 left over. I have no more place values to drop down, so I just have this 1 left over, which means this 1 is my remainder. So my answer is going to be 427, remainder 1. Okay, 427, remainder 1. All right, if you have any questions, please ask your teacher, and good luck on your assignment today.